because the details in anything that you do and being very detail oriented in the way in which you approach it and the way in which you analyze it is ultimately what is going to help you build your skills and become the greatest at whatever it is that you do. And anything that you do in your life that you're going to put some effort into is worth doing well. And so what do I mean by this? Well, if you think about like just basketball, right? When you think about a major aspect of basketball is shooting the ball. And that's what a lot of people would see immediately, or soccer, kicking the ball, or baseball, hitting the ball, or whatever it is. But there's so many facets that go along with being a great anything. So the basketball player has to be able to shoot from different angles, different positions, but also has to dribble the ball. There's offensive strategy, there's defensive strategy, there's conditioning, and there's a whole host of things that make them great at that. You know, I think about like skills that I need to build in anything that I do. I sent you an email this morning and yesterday, the day before, and the day before. You've gotten 4 emails, actually, you might even 4 or 5 emails in a row from me. Writing is a skill, right? And most people would think, well, if you want to send a better email, you need to be a better writer. And I would say, maybe, I don't know. Writing is a skill, and that's what most people would concentrate on, except that writing the email is, yes, I need to be good at writing, but what makes the email great is not the way I write it. It's the content of what I write about. It's the manner in which I write the email, because the ultimate goal for me is not to write you an email. That is never my goal. My goal isn't even for you to read the email. My goal is to put a deliverable together that hits your inbox, where you read it, look at it, and it inspires you to do something. That's my goal. All right, well, that means I have to understand or imagine who you are, the struggles you're going through, why you would be reading the email in the first place, what your goals might be, your aspirations, your problems. That requires me to think about you. That's a whole nother skill. And understanding human behavior. There's the subject matter of what I'm writing about. That's another skill, and so on. Those are all the little details. And what I think most people don't do in their lives is they don't pay attention to all the other aspects that make the greatest the greatest. Who understands what I'm saying? Give me a hey in the chat if you're following so far. This is really, really important. And one of the things I was thinking about, and that you might know about me, is I'm fanatical about my health. And I've always been on top of it, but I've become obsessive in the last few years. And when I delivered this financial fitness talk originally back in March, so a few months ago, it was part of a 3-day workshop that I called the life equation. The first part of the life equation was about how time, health, and money affect all the decisions that you make in your life, and how early on in your life you have more time, you have better health, but you have less money, and you get the idea, and that changes over time. The next day was about health, and the final day was about finances. And I want to give you an analogy about how I want you to consider your finances. So when I think about my health, you might think about, hey, I want to lose weight, right? And any doctor tell you that you're too fat, you're too obese, you need to lose weight. Right? It'll go easier on your heart, and your cholesterol will go down, and all this other stuff. Right. Well, there's a lot to you losing weight to become healthier. And when you look at what goes into that, calories, even if you don't understand that much about the metabolism and all this stuff, but you'll be able to follow this. Calories, the amount of calories that you eat, is going to determine your weight, the 150 pounds or whatever it is that you are. Right? How much you take in is going to determine how heavy you are. And of course, what most people do when they try to get healthier is they starve themselves and they try to eat less calories. That would be what I would call the big thing that they want to do. Except that when you really look under the hood, there's the calories that you take in that makes up your total weight. But there's macronutrients, protein, fat, and carbohydrates. That determines your composition. That determines what the 150 pounds looks like. And that might be pretty good if you can understand that. But the other element is, well, how do you feel or how do you perform when you're walking, running, swimming, whatever it is that you're doing, your performance in your sport? Well, that's incumbent and dependent upon your micronutrients. The magnesiums, the electrolytes, the vitamins, the minerals, the potassium, the sodium. Well, there's all that too. And if you're not paying attention to that, That's what's really actually going to help you perform. And when you think about money, what most people do is they think about the big stuff, the calorie count, the income. And they think, I'll just earn more and then I'll be set. And that's not true, because you're probably just going to spend more. Lifestyles creep, right? You're going to buy a bigger house when you make more money. That's what most people do. And again, they don't accumulate wealth. They look rich on the outside, but they're not really wealthy. And then there's the second aspect, that those analogous macronutrients, not the proteins, the fat, and the carbohydrates, but what determines your composition is your spending patterns. Can you get on defense? Do you actually have a budget? Do you understand what you're spending, what you're spending on that matters, what you're spending that you're wasting? But what really, really makes you wealthy is the performance. And the micronutrients in this analogy are your investments. Where are you putting the money that you're saving, and what are you doing with it? I assure you, if you're tucking it in your mattress, you will never accumulate wealth. You won't, because your money won't be worth tomorrow what it is worth today. And if you're hanging on to it, that is not a recipe to get wealthy. That's just hoarding. Who understands what I'm saying? There's more to this than just making more money. And I would argue with you that any of you on here that are listening to me can become wealthy on the salary that you currently have. It's true, because I'm telling you that economic security is not a function of income. It is not a function of intellect. It is a function of behavior. And if your behavior is not dialed in correctly, you will never accumulate wealth. You won't sleep at night because you'll be worried about how to pay the mortgage. And so what we're going to talk about today is the behavioral aspect. Yes, we're going to talk about some of the investment patterns, and you can ask me questions about all that good stuff. But I want you to know that's really true. And if you don't believe me, the math is simple. If you manage to say, if you're 22, all your 22-year-olds out there, if you manage to save $10 a day, literally $10 a day for 30 years, you'd have $1,058,000 if you save $10 a day. But the real kicker is you will only have needed to save and invest less than $110,000, $109,500 to be more specific. That's $300 a month. That's $75 a week. And I don't know where you get that, but I'm guessing that you can probably squeeze that out from something you're spending currently. And if you actually became disciplined, because you had the behavior dialed in that says, I'm going to take the 10 each day and invest it, or the 50 or 100 a week. And that means whatever you're earning right now, if you could actually make it and let time be your friend at an average rate of return of any 30-year historical average for all time, those are the numbers. Now double the number, triple the number. Or what about when you can invest $100 a day? Just think about that. So a lot of people say, I'm not sure where the money went. That's true, because you weren't tracking it. But what I would say to you is you're not sure where time went, because time is your best friend when it comes to earning and accumulating wealth.